postage place or imports or whatever. Like typically, if we order from abroad, we have to pay imports, don't we? Not the brand. Like the brand's never involved. So maybe they're just saying that this needs to be flagged instead of saying we need to be invoiced. And why don't I go back to her and just reconfirm? Because if it is that case,
can you hear me okay, guys?
Take a step away.
Yeah, I just had a question. If it's come up as if it's recording on my screen from your screen, has it come up that I'm recording? No.
Give me 1 second to check, Priya. Yes,
Thank you.
It seems like you are recording, which is great.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have 15 people waiting, and 15 actually, which is great. So we're gonna give 5 minutes. Do you want to rephrase this message a little bit, Priya, on the presentation, so to make sense?
Pardon?
Can you rephrase this message down here? Okay. Just give us a 5 minutes, make it just a few minutes, and just edit it a little bit. So I'm gonna grab some water, and what I suggest is we go all on mute. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, we go all on mute.
We go back
and Argiro will let everyone in
that
to join in 1 minute. Okay, so we just hide our screens and we get all on mute while Argiro is letting everyone to join the room. Argiro, can you write down a comment and the chat to say that in 5 minutes we are about to start? We're letting everyone to join the room, so just give us 5 minutes. Or Kriya, better you do that. Okay? Argiro is letting people in. Kriya is writing a message on the chat that we're about to start in 5 minutes.
Sorry, Alex. Okay, now I don't hear anything. So I invite them all now.
At 11 o'clock, you let everyone in. We mute ourselves, we stop our videos, and we give 5 minutes before we get started. And Priya is going to include a message on the chat that we are about to start in a few minutes. Okay? Priya, did you get that?
Yeah, I'm just typing a message in the chat now.
Super.
Alex, I'm just hearing something on the background that it's distracting. I'm not sure what it is.
Is it on my end that you hear something?
Probably because
another lady who's on the phone.
Okay.
With Alex, so we can hear her conversation as well.
Okay.
Oh my God, what a day. It's insane today. Okay, so see you in 5. Argiro, feel free to let people in.
Okay.
Send the message and I'll see you in 5.
Okay.
Welcome, 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 everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. It's going to be an HR webinar dedicated to employee well-being. And more specifically, we're going to talk about women at workplace, right? So this is a really, really hot topic. But before we get started, I just want to say welcome to everyone. I see more and more people joining the room, which is amazing. And can you just let me know in the comments, where are you based? Where do you live? I live in London. So in case you live in London, let me know which area. And it would be nice to just to get to know each other a little bit better and get a little bit of context about you and who you are. And oh my God, Libya, that's so cool. I see a lot of people joining from the UK, Windsor, UK West Midlands, Sheffield. Wow, amazing. Nottingham, beautiful. Milton Keynes, this is great. North London, Eleanor, me too. Which area in North London? I'm based in Camden Town, in case you're familiar with the city. And it's so, Indonesia, this is so beautiful. Finsbury Park, we are very close, Eleanor. That's really amazing. South Africa, okay, we have two people from South Africa, which by the way, is my most favorite destination in the world. And I was blessed enough to spend 3 months in South Africa last year. And I was working from there with my team as digital nomads. Katerina Kasotaki from Greece, so lovely. For those of you who know me, you know I'm Greek. So I'm really excited when I see people joining from Greece. This is really amazing. Nigeria, wow. London Golders Green, beautiful. My sister lives there, by the way. Wow, that's so amazing. We have so many people from the UK. I think it's one of the very first webinars I run that we do have so many people joining from the UK. So cool. So give me a little bit, kind of, if you can, give me a thumbs up in the comments if you can see me and hear me okay. So just to make sure that the sound is okay, that you can see me, hear me okay, that everything is great, I would really appreciate that. Oh, good. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, guys. So before we get started, as you may have guessed already, our today webinar, like every single webinar I organize, is going to be very interactive, which means that I'm going to invite you from time to time to share your own thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and best practices. And speaking of having this kind of interactive experience, I really want to invite you to write me down in the chat to tell me what would make our today webinar an amazing experience for you. What would make this webinar an amazing experience for you? And just think a little bit about it, because it's really important before we get started with anything in life to set an intention, you know? So, and I would love to hear what would, you know, make you have a really, really amazing experience. To get some proactive examples, to be able to do it all. Holy, this is wonderful. And that's my intention as well, to share some of my personal examples, but also some examples, like authentic examples we have implemented before with some of our clients. Katerina Kasotaki, the interaction we had like last time with Paul's. Katerina, this is so lovely. And thank you for sharing this, because it's also feedback, right? And it helps us to understand what makes those webinars exciting and interesting. Multinational thoughts, Farag, I totally agree with you. And this is something I personally enjoy by running those webinars. When I hear ideas and best practices and trends from people all over the world, not just the UK, right? So perhaps some coping strategies and best practices that I haven't considered. Danny, hopefully you will get some amazing coping strategies by the end of this webinar today. Thanks for sharing. And Hattie said, to learn how to best help my female employees. Yes, and this is exactly why we're here today. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alexandra Kafka. I'm the founder of Urban Yoga Lab and Oxygen. I'm a corporate well-being expert and also a former PR executive. And as a former PR executive, I experienced burnout myself 4 years ago. And maybe this is why I'm so passionate about this specific topic. What else do we have here? To understand a handful of things that we can implement immediately, quick wins in our organizations to combat burnout in the workplace, with another few things we can think about doing longer term. Thank you so much for sharing, Blaine, and so lovely to have you joining this webinar today. So, for the last couple of years, I have traveled to more than 40 countries, and my intention was to immerse myself in different cultures. Sorry, guys, I got muted for a second. So so my intention was to travel all over the world, to immerse myself in different cultures, and to get access to hacks that would allow me to understand high performance via mindfulness. So in the next 60 minutes, you're going to learn some of the ideas, the best practices we implemented with my team during the last couple of years. And those techniques, those strategies are all about helping female professionals to thrive without being burned out. Okay, so the majority of the clients I get to work with are women. And most of the cases, they are women who have built really successful careers, but they have burned out and they just don't want to experience this again, right? So they want to evolve, they want to thrive, but they don't want the burnout. So this is typically the work I do with them. And because my understanding and my own experience is that, just moving to another level in your career doesn't necessarily mean that we automatically, in a magical way, we understand how to cope with stress, anxiety, imposter syndrome, self-limiting thoughts and beliefs, right? And I know that because I had this false belief too. I used to believe that the more I was, thriving and succeeding with a magical way, I would be able to learn myself how to calm my nervous system and how to bring my body and mind in balance. So many of us have conditioned ourselves to succeed via grinding and hustling. And I know this because I used to do this as well. And that helped me to build a successful career, but it wasn't sustainable. And I know that many women can resonate with that. So just about Oxygen and Urban Yoga Lab, you might have heard us about before. We're an occupational health provider based here in the UK. And what we offer is well-being tools that can help modern employees to upgrade their well-being, to radically upgrade their well-being. So what we do via the tools we offer is helping employees to actually succeed, but also we help businesses to learn how to become an employer of choice. So now over the last several years, we have been entrusted by more than 50 big brands all over the world, including Royal Bank of Canada, Wells Fargo, Soho House. And they they have entrusted us to offer our Zen Warrior toolkits. So today I'm going to share with you some of those kind of practices, but those kind of success we had with corporates led us now to productize our services and offer those via our well-being platform, which is called Oxyzen. So now I want to talk to you about a poll. So we're going to share a link in the comment section, and then I'm going to move into the presentation where I'm going to share some stats and trends and best practices with you. So Argiro, if you can include the link in the chat, that would be great. And then Argiro, who is a member of my team, is going to also share her screen with us so we can see the results of the poll live, which, as a participant mentioned earlier, is really interesting to see what other people think and feel. So if we can just include the link in the chat. Okay, beautiful. And Argiro, feel free to share your screen with us. Amazing. So it's just 5 questions, and I think they're really interesting because they're all about employee burnout. And it's interesting to see how each one of us in this virtual room, we approach this topic. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to to give me your answers on this first kind of question. It's interesting to see that employee turnover seems to be the greatest challenge, right? So for those of you who want to participate, you can find the link in the comments in the chat. So it's very easy, straightforward process. You just copy and paste the link in your browser, and then you can actually share your own insights and your own answers. Beautiful. Employee turnover seems to be the #1 challenge so far. Interesting. And then the second is sick leave. Nice. Beautiful. It's interesting. So those, and sick leave seems to be really important and a really great challenge. Amazing. So let's move to the second question. The second question, which is about, if you would decide to implement a burnout prevention well-being program within your organization, what would be the first thing you typically want to achieve? Employee retention, greater productivity, greater employee experience, becoming an employer of choice, or other? Amazing. Thank you all for your participation, by the way. Carmen, don't worry, we can share the recording with you at the end of the session. Greater employee experience seems to be the #1. Yeah. That's something I hear a lot. And it's, yeah, I could expect this, to be honest. The greater employee experience is so important. And especially now with Great Resignation, it's becomes one of the top priorities. Amazing. And let's move to the next question and see, from 1 to 5, how high some of your priorities to prevent employee burnout, with 5 standing for exceedingly confident and 0 not confident at all. Okay. Interesting. I cannot access the link. Let me just share it again in the chat. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. It's really great that many of you feel really confident to Sorry guys, for those who cannot access the link, it is because we activated the poll a few minutes ago. I'm so sorry about that. So that's why it doesn't let you to access. But what I noticed here is that many of you feel really confident to help your employees to actually prevent employee burnout and to help your employees to overcome it, which is great. And I'm really keen to find out more about what type of practices and strategies you implement within your organization. And I think we could all benefit from this kind of from sharing, right? That's really, really interesting. And thank you all for sharing. And let's move to the next slide. The next question. Okay, and here we are. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. And I'm going to share the type of presentation that we have prepared for today. And as I said before, myself as a former PR executive, I experienced that, the absolute kind of career dream. But at the same time, I was a person who was suffering from imposter syndrome, chronic stress, and digital addiction, which eventually led me to experience burnout and forced me to resign. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about employee burnout in general, right? So now I want to talk just a little bit briefly about the way I structured the presentation today. So in the next few minutes, we are going to learn how to, we're going to focus on burnout at workplace and some practices on how to prevent it. So in the very beginning, I'm going to share with you why hybrid working can be a trap for women who work from home. We're going to explore 3 false beliefs when it comes to employee burnout, and then some best practices which represent authentic examples of how we have helped our clients, our partners in the past. Then for those of you who will stay till the end, we are going to share with my team an employee well-being calendar. It's something we share with long-term clients. So this will be my gift to you at the end of our webinar today. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about some announcements at the very end. So my intention for today is to share those practices with you that have helped our clients to improve their employee well-being, to achieve their KPIs and meet the return of investment when it comes to employee well-being. That's what you sign up for. That's what you're getting. And for those of you who just joined, we're talking about employee burnout and more specifically about women who work remotely, which, to be honest, for some women it can be a blessing, for some other can be a curse, right? And that's a question that I get all the time from my clients. The question is why women are more burned out than men. And I read this quote the other day, and that resonated with my old self, but also with, it reminded me all those experiences, all those women I know who actually struggle or they have suffered before from burnout. So it's the only time of my career that I seriously considered a less demanding job. I took another interview. I felt burnout so often. I felt caught in the middle of everyone's emotional response and in between decision makers who have very, very different outlooks on how to respond. It was the first time I had to solve problems that so directly impacted people's mental and physical health. It was the hardest working year of my life. According to research conducted by McKinsey recently, it shows that women are not only more burned out than men, but they are more burned out than a year ago. It is really, really alarming, right? And then you see all those stats and you see all those news stories about great resignation and how high burnout rates drive women away from employers. So when my clients ask me why women are more burnt out than men, I just share a few stats, but also I share some things I have seen, I have experienced as a corporate well-being expert working with corporates. And the first thing I share is that actually the work from home experience is a completely different experience for men versus women. So, for example, and speaking of equality, right, I want to highlight that the labor that women are doing as caregivers has been consistently undervalued. And it has been undervalued to that extent that it systematically benefits men to compete in their careers. So, and even before pandemic, according to sociologists, women were doing a second shift, which means that they used to do an inordinate amount of household and caregiving chores comparing to men. So more specifically, we see employed women are 3 times more likely than men to be their children's main caregiver. We saw during pandemic mothers who have been twice as likely as fathers in a dual career couple. And we saw many women doing extra 5 hours of domestic chores per day, according to McKinsey. So that make us actually understand why 79% of men said they had a positive work from home experience comparing to 37% of women. And this led women saying that 45% say they feel overwhelmed working from home. 46% they said were feeling a need to always be available. 48% said their physical well-being has suffered as an impact of feeling they always need to be available. And that is leading to women feeling more stressed than a year ago, almost 50%, and we have 46% of women who feel more burned out than a year ago. So, and because of that, we see women have been leaving actually the workforce at a much higher rates than before. In 2020, we had 1 out of 4. In 2021, we have 1 out of 3. This is really alarming. And it is because those women, they just are thinking that they need to downshift their careers or step out of the workforce entirely. So I want today to discuss about some myths that we need to be aware of and how we can actually raise awareness within our organization about those myths. So the first and the number one false belief is that burnout happens to just a few disengaged employees. Have you ever heard this myth? If you can let me know in the comments below, because that for me was a huge surprise when I started working as a corporate well-being expert 3 years ago, and I had the experience of talking with business leaders who were telling me that, you know what, Alexandra, burnout is not a big issue. There's just a few employees that they are not just really engaged, right? Have you ever heard this myth before? Let me know in the comments. Amazing. So, employees who love their jobs do not experience burnout. I used to believe that myself. And oftentimes when I speak with business leaders and I hear this, that's my response to them, that I understand why you are having this belief, and I used to believe that too, right? So I have, okay, Christine, no worries, I will share with you the recording now. So, and it's really important to talk about how we can actually break this belief. For example, how many business leaders know that the first phase of burnout, it is called a honeymoon phase. It is a phase that our employees are very engaged. They are full of enthusiasm, commitment, and joy. They're very productive. They want to perform at their best. They feel creative, optimistic, full of energy. And as a result, they may take more onto their shoulders than they should. How many do they actually know that the number one phase of burnout is that phase of being overproductive and super engaged and excited? And the more I speak with senior HR leaders, the more I realize that we really need to raise awareness about what are the different phases of burnout and how can we actually identify the signs. So I just want to share a short part of my personal story, just to give you an idea about what that kind of first phase of burnout means. So when I used to work as a PR executive in 2018, my career was amazing. I had the opportunity to work with some dream clients, with some like-minded people. It was really, really great. I got to invited to some amazing events. But despite being excited, there was something that I couldn't tell what was it, but I wasn't feeling super well. And gradually, I could see that I was becoming a workaholic. And I could see that I had the tendency to detach myself from the rest of the team, or that I was suffering from stress and anxiety. But then I was telling to myself that this was in the nature of the role, tight deadlines, a lot of clients. And yes, I had the feeling that there was something that was missing, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what was it. Until one day I was at work and I experienced burnout. So I experienced burnout by just not being able to breathe properly, and then I fainted. And when I opened my eyes, I realized that I needed to reach out for help. So when I spoke with the therapist back then, and I said to him, what helped me to recover? He said to me that I was suffering from burnout. And when I heard this word, I was completely shocked. Because as I said to you previously, I've always used to believe that burnout doesn't happen to people who are passionate with what they do. And then what happened is that because I was unaware of this thing, because I was unaware of the signs, I wasn't able to see that coming. So my question to my clients is every single time, and to my partners, is how many of your employees are actually aware and they have a good understanding of the alarming signs of a burnout in their own personal lives? And this is a question to ourselves as well, right? So are we good at being able to identifying our stress triggers, our burnout triggers? So can you tell me in the comments if you find this to be a thing among your employees, your friends, your relatives? Do you think your own network of people, do they have a good understanding of the alarming signs of a burnout or their own kind of stress triggers? Let me know in the chat. Because in most of the cases, it's about raising awareness, right? So how many of our friends, how many of our employees are actually aware of those signs of burnout? It's really important to ask ourselves, because here are some of the signs, and here are the 5 different stages. And not aware at all. I agree with you, Beth. Generally not aware at all. I was completely unaware myself. And it's such a shame, because by just being aware of those signs, we are better able to prevent and to be proactive. So, for example, if you see this kind of first phase here, these are all great things, right? A person feels passionate and driven, thriving, experiencing success and appreciation. Those are all great things. But they are also the first phase of burnout, because when we overdo it, that has a negative impact on our overall well-being. So I want to share with you a solution that we have implemented with my team, and we have seen that working really well with many of our partners. But before that, I want to mention that only 21% of employees say they are able to be open and to have a productive conversation with HRs about solutions to their burnout. So to be able to identify the signs, we need, first of all, to be able to comfortably discuss those struggles. But because of the stigma, most of employees, they do not. They just do keep it as a secret. And most HR managers tend to address burnout only after it happens, but then it's too late. So what we implemented is having those burnout self-tests and burnout assessments. So for both employees and their account managers. So for example, you can see those self-tests for employees and the burnout risk assessment checklist for managers. So by checking this QR code, you can see the full kind of checklist. And the reason we do recommend those self-tests is because if an employee doesn't feel comfortable to discuss openly about, the way they feel and the way they think, all those self-limiting thoughts and beliefs, they might be more comfortable to do a checklist and check for themselves whether they might be at risk or not. And the same applies for managers, because so many managers, they cannot tell whether their team, some members of their team, they might be at risk. So it's very good to have this checklist and be able to be proactive and see that before become a reality, right? So the reason, and the scores actually help both employees and managers to see the score, to see if they are at risk. And then not only that, but we give also a score interpretation when we give specific steps that they need to take to prevent and overcome burnout. And in case you want to do those tests, I'm happy to share this presentation with you. For those of you who will stay till the end of the webinar, I'm more than happy to share this presentation with you. So the second myth is about burnout is a personal issue. And it's very interesting because I used to believe that burnout was 100% my own responsibility to fix, and that it was my personal issue. And many businesses, they share the same kind of belief. And they think that employees need themselves to figure it out and access solutions and reach out for help. But this is not helpful, and this doesn't add any value to have this myth. And I'm going to explain why. So first of all, it's like when I speak with HRs, most of them tell me that, Alexandra, we normally try to cope with, to overcome burnout only after it happens. And my first question always is, what type of systems, what type of programs and solutions do we have in place to help our employees prevent and overcome burnout? So if you can write in the chat, if you can drop it in the chat, what is your one kind of system, one single program, one single strategy or solution that you have implemented successfully to help your employees prevent and overcome burnout? as you said, many of you feel confident about this topic. So I would really love to hear your own kind of ideas and the things that you have done in the past. Okay, so can you share with me in the comments one single thing that you've done to help your employees prevent and overcome burnout? Give it a little bit of thought. Regular pulse checks with employees. Yes, that's amazing, Dan. Confirming how they're feeling after 30, 60, 90 days. Very interesting. Yes. In our team, we do mindfulness practices every Monday morning. Jim, this is lovely, really. And that's something we've done for a law firm a couple of months ago. And we named it Mindfulness Mondays, where we had a mindfulness expert helping employees to access some new kind of practices, mindfulness practices to distress. What else, guys, we have here? Any other things that you have tried before? Acting on a pulse survey to show that you are listening and feedback regularly on progress. Nasreen, this is wonderful. Yes, and feedback as part of, and listening, so important. Feedback, outing and do badminton together. I love it. And you know what, Firda, I think that team bonding, it's one of the most important elements and the most important ingredients to keep a team together and make everybody feel like mentally healthier and as if they really want to take care of their well-being as a team also, right? Badminton together, I love this. Any other ideas, guys? I mean, this, you sharing is so much helpful and adds so much value to our conversation. So we have a comprehensive well-being suite with a number of offerings and interventions. What I think we're missing, though, is the identification piece, helping colleagues understand how they're feeling and what support they need. So beautifully said, Beth. And it's so wonderful you do this comprehensive well-being suite. But as you said, I totally agree with you that one of the most important elements is the identification, is to also help our colleagues and our team members to diagnose, and be able to see the signs early enough. It's so important. Any other ideas, guys? Anything that you have implemented before that really worked well within your organization? Okay, so I'm going to share with you that for those of you who haven't shared any practices, that you might have any strategies in place when it comes to employee prevention. Honestly, this is nothing unusual, and I see this all the time, and it's absolutely normal. Many businesses, they still try to figure out new ways to, when it comes to employee prevention, to burnout prevention, right? So I see that all the time, and that's why 36% of employees on a recent research, they said their organization is doing anything to help with employee burnout. So there's nothing unusual if you're doing anything at the moment. The important thing is to become aware and then take action, right? So what else we have here? Will be interested in voluntary vs mandatory practices around this. Yes, Beth, is it something that is there if someone wants to use it? Yes, and please, guys, you know what? In this chat, you can also share your own ideas, your own links. You can also feel free to share your own practices, with each other, because this is the purpose of this webinar, for all of us to share and take and get some value out of it. So I just want to share with you about, again, a piece of my personal story that I think is very relevant to what we've said earlier, whose responsibility is to help employees to prevent and overcome burnout. So back then, when I used to work as a PR executive, I used to believe that burnout and stress means that I was weak. And because of that, I was trying to hide that I was stressed and I was anxious. So I was almost kind of under stress to hide that I was stressed, if that makes sense. And what I did was I said to myself, okay, I'm going to find my coping mechanisms, my personal coping mechanisms to overcome stress. So what I did was I was drinking a few glasses of wine every night to alleviate stress and anxiety. I was obsessively smoking. I was playing again and again in my mind all my self-limiting thoughts and beliefs, and I wasn't reaching out for help. And I believe that you know that normally in this kind of situations, a person feels a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and self-disappointment. And those feelings are really kind of emotions are really challenging. So that was the reason that I didn't speak with my manager back then, and I didn't know what to do to actually help myself. But I think that you will agree with me that it is in the nature of our role as HRs to proactively support and help our employees. And to be able to do that, we first need to learn how to engage our senior leaders within our organization. Very important to make them aware of how important burnout is. What is the negative impact of burnout? And that's what I show to my clients when I have a first meeting with them. I share with them the costs, right? The costs and on every single different phase. Because as I said before, businesses, they try to help employees to overcome burnout only after it happens. But what about being proactive about it and try to prevent it? So this is normally what I share with my partners and clients to help them see the cost of burnout. And to be honest, when they see this, they realize that the cost is almost kind of unaffordable. And when they share this with the decision makers within the organization, they help them understand that they need to take action and they need to take some measures to prevent this, right? So I'm just sharing this graph with you. And of course, for those of you, as I said before, who want access to this presentation, I'm very happy to share this with you at the end of the webinar so you can actually use some of those stats and some of those graphs. And then when I show this, then I talk about a little bit about some statistics, some recent statistics that they show what burnout, what's the burnout's impact on productivity, and what is the average cost of turnover per employee. What does it mean losing an employee, and how much does it cost? And also, how much does it cost to retrain, to train a new person, right, to join our team? All those are costs. And when decision makers in a business, they are able to see those numbers, then they become aware and they really want to be more kind of motivated to solve this issue. So one of the things we have done with my team is that we build a burnout risk calculator. We call it BRC11. We use this calculator to measure the cost of burnout within your business and to help your decision makers to see why employee burnout prevention matters. And there are many different burnout risk calculators that you can actually access online. There are many different types of those calculators, and I can definitely share with you a list if you're interested in. But here is an example of how we use the BRC11 for a client in finance a few months ago. And when they saw the numbers, they were like completely shocked, and they actually got into a realization that burnout, it was not just about one single or a few employees. suffer and need to resign. It was more about the company culture, and that was creating a toxic company culture. So my question to you now is, assuming that we have helped our employees to identify the signs of burnout early enough. Let's assume that we already helped our managers to understand, to learn how to diagnose this early enough and be proactive about it. And let's assume that we share the burnout risk calculator with our decision makers and they have decided to take action. What's next? How do we help our employees and our business to learn how to navigate the stress and anxiety? And I really want to hear from you in the comments. Can you tell me what type of tools, techniques, practices, initiatives you have implemented in the past to help your employees to distress, right? To release anxiety, to not feel that much kind of pressure. What are your own kind of favorite ways or the tips, the practices you've implemented successfully in the past? I really want to know, I really want to hear from you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about it. And please share down in the comments what type of things you have done before to help your employees to distress. And don't think about it too much, just one single recent practice or program or initiative you organized recently, just for us to know, and have an idea. Anyone? Anyone who would like to share? For example, one of the businesses we worked with recently, before they started working with us, what they have done was to do some kind of yoga sessions every Wednesday, and that helped the employees to distress. One of our favorite type of practices is breathing practices, breathing techniques that can help employees to distress, release anxiety. Farag said, giving some time off, vacation or therapy. Beautiful. And that helps. That helps. We offer a number of webinars on mindfulness and meditation. This is so, so good, Beth. And so it's a great thing. We organize a lot of webinars as well, and we have seen the amazing positive impact. How do employees get access to all those tools they need? Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to share with you that it's really important, before we even try to help our employees to distress, it's more important to help them to process challenging emotions and self-limiting thoughts and beliefs. Now, many business leaders believe that giving a vacation or just a day off will cure burnout, but this is not always the case. And I know that speaking from my own personal experience, but giving a vacation, giving a day off to an employee who feels stressed is a very, very good idea. Now, many employees who experience burnout, they feel that resigning, taking a sabbatical or changing jobs will help them to overcome burnout. But the truth is that they do not heal themselves by doing that. They just transfer the problem to re-experience it in a later stage in time. And we have seen that over and over again. So for example, myself, when I resigned from my career, I decided to go on a journey around the world. And my purpose was to get access to the right tools I needed to heal myself. So what I did was going to a Buddhist monastery in Chiang Mai, in Thailand, where I stayed there with Buddhist monks, and I practiced the art of meditation. And then I went to Cambodia, where I participated, and then I ran some mindfulness retreats in Peru, where I've learned breathing techniques. And that was an incredible journey, right? And I had the experience, and I felt really blessed to get access to a lot of tools that they helped me to learn how to become master of all my challenging emotions and feelings. And it was thanks to those trips that I got introduced to new hacks and tools and daily self-care practices that then became my own kind of well-being toolkit, which I named the Zen Warrior Toolkit. But because of this experience, I learned for the very first time how to be in control of my challenging emotions and thoughts, but mostly how to process those, how to stop resisting or trying to numb my challenging emotions. So during those trips, I've learned all those kind of powerful tools. But when I came back to London with my Zen Warrior Toolkit, I asked myself, how can I give access to those tools to as many employees as I can for them to be exactly what they are? Because I don't feel like an employee needs to resign or take a sabbatical or change an employer to find the right tools and practices to feel in balance, right? They can get access to those tools exactly where they are. So, and I think that you will agree with me that, you know, it's important to discover ourselves how to process challenging emotions early enough before they become burnout, before they become like a panic attack or whatever similar to that. So what do you think can help your employees learn how to process their challenging thoughts and emotions? Earlier, we spoke about mindfulness webinars. We talked about meditation. You said to me about the Mondays that you organize those well-being sessions. What else can we do to help our employees to process challenging thoughts and emotions? And I'll tell you what we do with clients, and especially clients who want to help women at work to process stress and anxiety and to learn how to be in control. So we are hosting women's circles, and women's circles help to create psychological safety. So when I suggest this idea to my partners, to my clients, they ask me, what is women's circles? And I normally, what I say is that this comes from the ancient years. So this used to be circles where mothers, daughters, and grandmothers used to gather together to share skills and knowledge and tips and recipes. Now, the contemporary women's circles often serve the same function. So it's a circle of women. There is one single well-being facilitator, and the only thing they are expected to practice is deep listening. And that's how they process their challenging emotions and feelings. And that means that nobody needs to solve a problem. They do not need to make a decision. There is not an agenda. It's just about genuinely listening closely to other stories and honoring their experiences. And it's really beautiful because it is a space where somebody feels safe to share, but also there is non-judgment. So how do these circles work? So normally feature 3 to 30 people. Around 6 to 13 is usually a good number. They typically last between 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we have an experienced well-being facilitator with corporate experience who is able to meet the participants where they are. So they choose one single topic and each one of them they share. Now, it is not necessary for every woman in the circle to share. Some they come and just listen. But we also implemented the idea of having some journal templates where they can actually prompt, where they can write their thoughts, for those of them who do not want to share openly. And what we found was that there's something cathartic, therapeutic, There is also the team bonding element in this type of initiatives, and it helps women to feel empowered. So now that we are almost at the end of the webinar, from 1 to 5, write down in the chat how confident you feel, comparing to the very beginning, that you are in your ability to help your employees who suffer from burnout. And again, if it's the same number like before, feel free to include this in the chat. 5, Caitlin, beautiful. And Nasreen said before, openly discuss, so it becomes less of a taboo. Yes, that's what I was talking about, Nasreen, earlier, about the women's circle, and I so much agree with you. So important to be able to openly discuss and recognize the signs all together as a team. Now I'm conscious a little bit about the time, so I just want to share with you that all those insights, we gathered them from our employee wellbeing platform, Oxygen, which is a sophisticated platform which includes well-being services and sessions that we offer to employees worldwide. So in this kind of platform, you can see it is a done for you service. I can send you the link later with the trailer if you want to take a look. And the beauty of this kind of platform is that helps employees to access well-being tools and techniques where they are, no matter what's the place, no matter what's the time, wherever they are, they can actually access. So please let me know in the comments if there is any questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to share with you just 3 big announcements. So next month, on the 20th of September, I'm going to run a webinar about imposter syndrome. Some of you might know already that imposter syndrome is one of the top causes of burnout, and especially among women. We are going to include the link below for you to join. Also, the second thing I want to mention is that for those of you who stay till the end and you want to access our employee wellbeing calendar, please just write the letter D in the comments, so we can, and your email address, so we can share with you our calendar. Also, in case you want to book a free discovery call with me, please click the link below in the comments. And the last thing I want to mention is that I'm very, very excited because next month I'm going to relaunch my Zen Warrior program. And for those people in my network, and for those of you who just joined, the webinar, I am going to give 20% off, which is going to be valid by the end of of Wednesday, so the day after tomorrow. You can email us the code BURN2022 at info@urbanyogalab.com. So this Zen Warrior program is an 8-week transformational employee well-being mentorship container, which is all about somatics, mental well-being, and mindfulness. You can join yourselves individually, or also you can have your employees, your team joining this program. So this is the program that I did myself to transform myself. That's my methodology. So I take employees through a process. I walk them through 8 different topics. So each week we explore a different topic. And what I share is evidence-based tools that can help you to look after your mental health and well-being. So on this program, I work with a maximum of 8 clients at any given time. So if you are interested, please email us, I would say ideally today, because we have 4 slots available. So this is everything I wanted to share with you. I just also wanted to say that I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me and or share with me your ideas, your suggestions, your feedback, that would be really great. I'm always open to connect. And then I just want to say that, it was really, really wonderful to meet you all. And it was really amazing to get an understanding of what are your strategies, or what are the things you consider as top practices when it comes to employee burnout? So let me take a look at the comments. Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Nahida. Thank you all for sharing your email addresses here. Anything that you would like to comment, please write in the comments. And as I said before, it's so lovely. We had so much interaction in the chat, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I really had a great time. You can also write in the comments what was the one thing that you will take away from this webinar, for example. Amazing. Thank you very much, Lee. Very thought-provoking session. Amazing. It was great to have you. And thank you for your lovely feedback. So anyone who wants to share anything before we end our today webinar, please send me in the comments. That would be really great. And my team will make sure that we will share with you our diversity, our well-being calendar by email. Thank you very much, Natalie. Thank you for joining. It was a pleasure to have you. Amazing, everyone. Thank you. For those of you who are leaving, have a lovely, lovely week. Lovely day and a lovely week ahead. Matiba, thank you for joining. Lee, thank you. Always a pleasure at your webinars, Alexandra. Thank you, Heidi. So lovely. Joy, thank you. Very much insightful. Oh, that's so great to hear that, guys. Arun, thank you for a good session. Kim, thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for the wonderful session. Guys, it was really lovely to have you all joining. And it was a real pleasure. It gave me the opportunity also myself to discover some tools and practices and ideas. So it's really great. Anyone else who wants to share, please share in the comment section. Otherwise, I'm going to stay here with the rest of my team to discuss and to make sure that we copy and paste all your emails so we can actually email you later on. Amazing. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Katie. I received some direct messages as well. Oh, how lovely. See you on the next webinar, Firta. It's on the 20th of September. It's going to be about the imposter syndrome, so I'd love to have you there. Thank you all for joining. Bye, everyone. See more people leaving. And amazing. So below, we have still people in the chat. Amazing. See you on the next, yes. And for those of you who actually want to ask me a question, or they want to contribute or to have a discussion with me, you know, feel free to unmute yourself and ask me anything you want, or to write down in the comments, whatever it feels better to you guys. Amazing. I see we have many Greek people today in the chat. It was really great to meet you all. Thank you so much. Super. So, Argiro, are you there? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm here.
Amazing, beautiful. So we're still recording. So what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna stop recording and let's do all the same. And I'm going to slowly, I see people leaving. Okay, and Bilal, did we save all the comments, all the emails from everyone?
Yes.
Amazing, super. So, Priya, are you here? Yes, you're here. I see you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, give me 1 second, please. Okay. 1 second. So, so what I'm doing is just I removed everybody because they were not leaving. I don't know why. They were just staying here. So guys, how did that